Hey everyone, what is going on? What is going on? Good evening to you. My name is Curtis Brooks, and this is That Man Show. Welcome. I am an executive coach, men's life coach specializing in transformational leadership for men. Guys, we got an exciting show for you. This is a little different for me. So, just before we get started, let you know that we are streaming to multiple platforms. That is here on LinkedIn. If you are seeing me here on LinkedIn, we are live streaming here on LinkedIn. Also, onto my YouTube channel. That's going to be Men's Life Coaching, or at least at sign the Men's Life Coaching. Again, at Men's Life Coaching over on YouTube. So check me out there. And also to my Facebook page. So if you can't find me on Facebook, I apologize because Facebook has just recently made some changes to their setup there. I was streaming to my personal page, and so I got some notifications saying that they were making some changes and that I actually needed to make it a professional page of some sort like that. But in any event, wanted to make sure that you knew that. So if you can't find me on Facebook, you can definitely find me over on YouTube. Again, that's at Men's Life Coaching on YouTube. So, guys, we got a great show for you. We're talking about nice guys. Do they finish last? Nice guys, do they finish last? Now, this topic here is near and dear to my heart because I was a nice guy, or I still believe I'm a nice guy. I do believe I'm a nice guy, and don't let the smooth voice fool you. But yeah, I do believe that I'm a nice guy. But I want to dive into this because I was one of those men who absolutely believe that, hey, you know what? Nice guys finish last. And so I want to get your take on this. I want to know what your thoughts are. And yeah, chime in if at all possible. Leave us some comments so we can just kind of engage with each other and just make this a community conversation. So I'm excited to be here once again. My name is Curtis Brooks, executive coach and men's life coach specializing in transformational leadership for men. So, quick story. Many years ago, I'm gonna start this off of a story of this nice guy. But many years ago, I was I don't want to say mid 20s or something of that sort. I can't remember, or maybe even younger than that. I can't remember. But anyways, there's this woman that I seen, and I thought she was hot, man. I thought she was absolutely gorgeous, and I'm married now, so we don't do those things. But this is well before I met my current wife. But in any event, I was in my early 20s, I believe, and I thought this woman was drop dead gorgeous. She was older than I was, and so she came in. My background's in accounting. If many of you have seen my live streams, I may have talked about that. So my background has been in accounting for many years, for about 12 to 15 years, and I was proficient with accounting and really knew the software pretty good. And so this particular lady had come in. I'd seen her before. She had come into the practice I was working for, inquiring about software and just how it works and how if she needs some help, who should contact. And so sure enough, I said, hey, you can contact me. And so, but I was actually hoping to not only I was actually hoping to make some money off of that gig there, with this lady who had reached out to me, or at least was asking questions about this accounting opportunity, or that she had presented to me, because she didn't know the software or anything like that. So I was, again, a pretty proficient with the software. And so here she's asking me a bunch of questions. And so in my niceness, man, I gave away. I laugh about it now, but at the time I was just like, really? Because I felt I felt taken, but not in a bad way. But yeah, kind of maybe in a bad way at the time. But I felt kind of taken because to me, she was just drop dead gorgeous. But I gave away the whole kit and caboodle, man, because this one just just playing the nice guy. And and so my question to you, for the men out there, and even for the women, I want to know your thoughts. Do the nice guys do the nice guys in fact finish last? What is the deal with that? So there's absolutely been a lot of talk with that, and me and my wife have actually had this conversation as well before, actually a couple of different times. And my resolve in this is that nice guys really don't finish last. I think after a while, the women who have tired themselves of just going after the mean guys, they show up at some point for the nice guys. This is my take on it. So if your take is different, absolutely. I want to hear from you. Leave some comments in there. Let's talk about this, guys. This is just, again, a little bit different from what I would normally do, but I want to hear your thoughts, guys, because this absolutely goes back to men really truly finding themselves. And again, finding that, in fact, whether you're a nice guy or somewhere in the middle or just a real complete jerk, boundaries need to be had. So we're going to dive more into that. So if you got a nice guy story, or if you're a woman, you know of a nice guy, what does that mean to you? So, when you hear nice guy, what does that mean to you? And I think from a society point of view perspective, when we talk about nice guys, we hear, or at least I hear, and perhaps others hear, but I think it's not such a positive thing. It's not such a positive thing, and that's just my take on it. And I think that when I was younger and dating, that's how I felt. That it was the nice guys that finished last, and I would later learn a lot of different things, a lot of different things. So again, question out there is: do you believe nice guys finish last? So if you are a woman and you got to take on a nice guy, and that maybe he was too nice for you, he didn't have enough edge to him, perhaps, maybe, I don't know, but leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts. So yeah, let's engage on this conversation. So that being said, I've already asked you, when you hear a nice guy, what first comes to mind about this nice guy? Is it that you hear that he's a sucker? He's easily he's easily manipulated. He just doesn't care. What are your thoughts? So for when I hear nice guy, I know I was that nice guy, and there's nothing wrong with being a nice guy. But I think it's important to understand that boundaries are absolutely necessary. They're necessary. And I think for me, part of that nice guy thing was that, hey, for me, this was many, many years ago now. I, Daddy doesn't play that stuff now, but nevertheless, many years ago, the whole mindset for me is that if I was a nice guy, knowing that most of the stories I heard from women back in the day when I was dating, you hear a lot of women say, "Hey, that the guy they were dating, or they had dated a bunch of real jerks, whatever the case might be, and that, hey, in my mind, hey, maybe you could use a nice guy. Really, this was the thinking. Maybe you could use a nice guy." And I didn't always say that in so many words, but that's just what my thinking was. And so I would find myself just really rolling out the carpet for them, for the women, just rolling out the carpet and just doing all kinds of different things. And not that there's anything wrong with rolling out the carpet for a woman. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, I did feel like uh, that I was too nice. I felt like I was too nice. So it came for me. It was a lot of pain in being nice, because I think for me, I assumed that this is what they wanted. And in fact, if they were dealing with a guy who was a jerk, who wasn't so nice, the assumption is, well, maybe they want a nice guy. But what I would find out is that they wanted someone who, maybe balance is that it took me a long time to find that balance as a man. That's the word I'm looking for. It took me a long time to find that balance, and that there's sometimes for us as men that you will have to you have to have boundaries, and sometimes those boundaries they look like you're not very nice when you establish boundaries. And it does not mean that you're not nice, but because as men, we have to establish boundaries. People, let's just put it that way. People should establish boundaries. And when we don't establish boundaries, the challenge is that when you try to establish those boundaries after a long period of not having boundaries established, it can make it very difficult. Matter of fact, the individual who establishes the boundaries, they can feel uncomfortable creating boundaries, because they're not accustomed to being in that space, because when you establish boundaries, it can sound like to the other person that you're giving directives. And who likes to give directives, or at least receive directives from people? Not a whole lot of people in relationships. So even aside from that, it's important to have boundaries, guys. It's important to have boundaries. Now, I know society looks at the nice guy, and I think this is a common a common rhythm, or a common just view perspective, I should say, that society punishes the nice guys. Society runs all over the nice guys. The nice guy in the office, the nice guy, and maybe the guy who's pulling out the chairs, or maybe the guy who's opening the doors. Society just it can feel like society just punishes these men. It society just kind of just does away with them. But again, I want to hear your perspective. I want to hear your thoughts on, do the nice guys finish last? And now the nice guy comes in all flavors now, and financially, economically, he comes in all flavors. He can be a CEO of a company, of a company that's doing very well. He can be a manager. He can be a supervisor. Now, the nice guy, he comes in all flavors, guys. He's not a guy who has a horrible job, or he sees himself as having a horrible job. This nice guy is having to do with a mannerism, having to do with his perhaps his belief systems, along with many other things. And here's my take on the nice guy. I want to say this. Here's my take on the nice guy. I am not sure who's out there listening, guys. Let me refresh my page here for a second here. As I mentioned here, guys, we are on YouTube at Men's Life Coaching over on YouTube. We got Anitin over on LinkedIn. Hey there, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. We've got Mr. Kenny, savor the flavor. What's going on, man? He says, I'm nice with the boundaries, like it or not. Savor the flavor of the awesomeness in that. Yeah, absolutely, man. Boundaries are absolutely essential. Lenora, my wife, says, hey, babe, thanks for joining. She says, uh, men may sometimes feel like they finish last if things don't work out with the person they have desired. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And that's a tough place to be, because I think that obviously each for us as men, we have an idea of that woman we're desiring. And when we are I guess, gather up enough courage to go after that woman, or to just even say hi to her, or just to let it be known that, hey, I'm here, just if you're interested, whatever the case might be. So it can be difficult for us to, and here's it can be difficult for us to approach that woman. But again, once we have built up enough courage to approach that woman, um, we especially if we're turned down, especially as Lenore just said, if we're turned down for something, it can feel like we have that we're finishing last. And we can feel like, or at least a lot of times in our minds, we're like, oh, she wants a mean guy. She wants a mean guy. And interesting enough, hey, Michael Rivers, thanks for joining, Michael. Uh, and Michael says here over on, well, actually, we got a couple of comments here. Michael says here over on LinkedIn, he says, nice guys. Let me read the first comment here. It says, 1 minute, 13 seconds ago. Okay, so the first comment is, I would add something a bit different to that belief about the nice guy finishing last. It is my experience that the nice guy is being spared from the wrong fit, or the unfruitful. Absolutely, absolutely. That's an interesting take, Michael. Absolutely, man. That's a very interesting take. And his second comment here says, "Nice guys are normally those who are being reserved for the soul that." that understand his worth and won't undermine his credibility or hinder his walk and the purpose of and the purpose he has raised up to pursue. Very, very interesting takes, Michael. Very, very interesting takes, Michael. Yeah, that's very interesting takes on that. Hmm. I'm gonna go with a different perspective, and then I do absolutely appreciate your what you said here, and it's definitely not shooting it down because it's again, that's what we're here. We're engaging here. So, uh, I'm gonna go with a lot of times that, especially mothers being single, a lot of single mothers, uh, and the father being absent for whatever reason. And now, when I say this, this is not to blame women. This is not to blame women because what we have to work with is what we have to work with. But ideally, when single mothers are raising sons, they cannot raise men, but they raise good sons. And this is from my experience again, because I was a good son as well until my mother found out some things about me. But nevertheless, she said he's not so good. Who ruined him? But nevertheless, uh, I was that good son, and I think part of that good son that came out of me was wanting to make sure my mother was happy, and I think that's every young boy who uh, who has a mother that's present in his life. He wants to make his mother happy, and in making his mother happy, he does the right things. He does the right things, and so that's just my take on it. But if I would love the challenge on that one. Absolutely, let's talk about it, guys. Kenneth says, mean ain't cool. He says, being mean isn't cool, period. Savor the flavor of the awesomeness in mean. I, I do not. So Kenneth says, mean is not being cool. Yeah, yeah, Michael. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I get where you're coming from, Michael. I get where you're coming from on that, man, for sure. So yeah, Kenneth says being mean is not cool. Absolutely, being mean is not cool. But sometimes, Kenneth, man, when you're dating boundaries to people, especially for us men who are not comfortable with setting boundaries, man, it can make it seem like we're being mean, or we can feel mean for the fact that we've got to set boundaries. And I think if we don't set boundaries, we essentially give people a free reign, I believe, and different aspects of our lives, so to speak. And I think those certain areas where we have given people free reign, especially sometimes when we're young and we're dating, things of that nature, we have a tendency to give that young lady in our life free reign, just like, hey, do what you want, yeah, whatever you want to do, whatever, and things of that nature. And because I was there, and I'm not saying all men are that way, but I think that naturally, again, coming from a perspective where I was, because I was a mama's boy at one time, until it was something my ex-wife, my son's his mother, she said to me that really kind of just provoked me to get off that ledge, to get off that stump there. And yeah, I was in that place before. So Michael, I absolutely get it, man. And I've had to grow up, man. I've had to, and it was some painful places, man. Definitely painful places. Marcia says mean is really not cool, but you really need to boundaries to protect your space and your peace. Absolutely. No, mean is not cool. Mean is not cool at all. But let's just I'm gonna toss this out here, and I want to hear your take on this, guys. Is that a lot of times when people have been through stuff in relationships, and I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just kind of just putting this thought out there. A lot of times when people have been through certain things in relationships, uh, and from one person to the next person, we can easily get to a place where when we're dating a new person, well, you know what? That last person had taken me through all kinds of different crazy things. And so now I'm going to make sure, and again, we create those internal boundaries sometimes, and sometimes the other person doesn't know about those boundaries that we have, that we're putting up, or those walls or those fences that we're putting up. A lot of times the other person does not know that, and I think it's what they call unspoken expectations. And so because the other person doesn't know that, it's almost something that uh, we haven't shared with the person that we're dating. And so naturally we can feel almost like, you know what, I'm taking that piece of me back now, with a vengeance. I'm taking that piece of me back that I've given away for so long. And so this next person, no way, he or she is not going to get into that space. So that might be an issue where, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I believe it's wrong, but I do believe that a lot of times these are the conditions that people are under. And so, because people a lot of times have not healed, they have not healed. And as Marcia has stated, boundaries are absolutely important. As Kenneth has stated, boundaries are hugely important. And it's just that sometimes when we are wanting to perhaps give the person the benefit of the doubt, and we're dating this new person in our life, uh, and and it could seem like we're healed, or there's no, hey, everything is great, everything is cool. And so I think that we take those boundaries away for reasons, or at least we don't share those boundaries. And then when we get tired of going through certain things, we have a I think we come out with a rage, maybe, for us men and women. We come out like, hey, you know what, hey Buster, I've had enough. You aren't going to keep doing this. And that's my take on it. So what do you guys have to say about that? So over on LinkedIn, it says, Michael says over here on LinkedIn, says social media took over the role of parents and the proper grooming within the single parent household. Absolutely, Michael. Yeah, that's a very interesting take, and I think social media plays a huge piece in how we show up as men, in relationships, and women as well. Absolutely, absolutely. Kenneth over here on LinkedIn says, I'm very comfortable with giving boundaries. You know me, though. You know me through LinkedIn very well. Ask me if I care. I dare you. That's probably a whole nother show, Kenneth. So yeah, so I almost want to, man. I feel like I'm on that one of the but yeah, hey Kenneth, thanks for sharing that, man. Appreciate you, man. But yeah. And but here's the thing, Kenneth, I want to even challenge you. Have you gotten that way because of other reasons? Uh maybe like I don't care attitude. Have you gotten that way because uh it's a way of protecting yourself? So let me know your thoughts on that, Kenneth. Michael says here over on LinkedIn, Beyonce. He says Beyonce claims every lady needs a thug. Uh oh. Michael says Beyonce says every lady needs a thug. I think this is when society took a turn for the worse. All right. Yeah, Beyonce says every Michael says every Beyonce says every lady needs a thug, and you know, I would not go as far as saying a thug, Michael, and maybe that's, again, that's just a song, but I would say women like men with an edge to them. Maybe that's a better way to say it. That's what I'm saying. So if I maybe, I mean, I know what you said, but put that in your own words. Do you think that every woman wants a thug, or do you think that every woman, really, or women like men with some kind of edge to them, who are just maybe just, hey, I don't know what this guy's gonna do. I don't know what to expect from him, but he keeps me he keeps me he keeps me living on the edge. I don't know. Maybe that's what women like. I don't know. But ladies, if you're in the chat area, let me know. So do you prefer men who are more, who have a more of an edge to them? Do you prefer that? Do you prefer a guy who's gonna, hey, let you know what he thinks, what his thoughts are, who's gonna put you in your place, or I don't know. I don't know the current lingo here. So Marcia says to Kenneth, which Kool-Aid are you drinking? LOL. Michael here over on LinkedIn says, Curtis, you hit the nail on its mark. I fumbled three relationships because I didn't understand the boundaries. Heck, I didn't even understand that boundaries were such a thing. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. Dear, yeah, man. I think ultimately, man, even with my, interesting enough, man, even with my baby girl, man, I have a daughter who's 2 years old. And man, she tests a brother. She tests a brother, man. She will do certain things and look daddy right in his face and like now what? And sometimes I have to turn my head and just laugh, and but yeah, she tests me, man. But interesting enough, that even with the 2 year old, I have to have boundaries, man. I have to have boundaries, and sometimes it is a little challenging to discipline her, and that's facts. It's a little challenging to discipline her because I don't want to see my baby girl hurting, but at the same time, I also know that I've got to set boundaries with her as a father, as a parent, and knowing that when she's dealing with, as she gets older and dealing with other people, outside of just me as a father, these boundaries are absolutely important. And so, people are going to challenge you. Mm. All right, so there was a question. Now, this is my wife speaking. This is my wife speaking now. There was a question I asked earlier. Do women like men who are a little edgy? And now this is my wife speaking. Lenora says, I just desired a strong man who was not afraid to be assertive and knew when to be assertive." Now that's very interesting. Now, strong and assertive, are they two different things, or is it just a matter of reframing that word strong and using assertive? So let me know your thoughts on that one as well. So that was what my wife said. So um, okay, Kenneth says over here on LinkedIn, assertive versus aggressive. Yeah, that's another word you can throw in the mix. Assertive, aggressive, strong. Are they all three different words, or just being reframed differently? What are your thoughts on that? Kenneth over here on LinkedIn says to Marcia, when she says to him, "What Kool-Aid are you drinking?" So Kenneth says, "Scrumptiously, deliciously, edibly, tastily, tasty, good homemade Kool-Aid." Yes, indeed, man, absolutely. So, okay, so Michael says here over on LinkedIn, he says an edge, and that's what I was saying earlier, a man with a little bit more edge to him. So Michael's response is an edge is more appropriate, but her song literally said that, and that these ladies took it to the extreme. That's when us nice guys came up last. Now I understand assertive, and speaking one's piece in a way that is respectful and without reproach, as opposed to remaining a doormat and going without. Absolutely, man. There's a difference, and I do like the word assertive that Lenore's has used versus aggressive, as who said it earlier, as Kenneth was saying, assertive over aggressive. Absolutely. So Marcia says here over here on LinkedIn, she says men have a hard task, to be real men, especially in a world where you have so much opinion on how they should act. Now, I can actually rock with that one. That's a good statement, Marcia, because I think that we as men, you have to find your lane. You have to find your lane, because I think if we don't find our lane, we can find ourselves just being being swayed, if you will, like a ship on an ocean, turbulent waters or something like that. We can find ourselves just being swayed from side to side, and just going with the day. And sometimes you just, in life, you just cannot just go with the day. Sometimes you just have to command your day and say, hey, you're not going to do this, and you just have to You just have to make those assertions. I'll put it that way. That this is not going to go down that way, and yeah, so it can be. So, and a question. I know some of you guys here. Maybe I don't know if you heard the question I stated earlier. What do you think of nice guys? When you hear the term "nice guy," what is your take on that? What do you think on that? What comes to mind when you hear the word "nice guy"? Mm. Yeah, Lenore says strong, and this is in reference to when I mentioned the word strong, aggressive, assertive. Are they the same word? Or are we just reframing it? So Lenore says, to me, strong bears up under the weight of a challenge. Very interesting take, Lenora. Very interesting take on that. So Lenora says, to me, strong bears up under the weight of a challenge. So are you saying that like to be strong that you almost in a sense are approaching your mate or your significant other uh, uh almost like an authority on something or a subject matter or making the person feel challenged? Do you know, just let me know if I got that right. But so let's get some more into the conversation. So again, the question out there that I'm asking is, when you hear the word nice guy, what comes to mind? Michael mentioned doormat. Do you think doormat when you hear the word nice guy? I can remember many years ago when we had school dances. It's been obviously a long time ago, and there was this girl at school, or maybe I knew of, or just didn't know, or just wanted to dance, whatever the case might be. And I would say, hey, yeah, I would say, hey, I'd have my eye on her, or maybe talking to some of my buddies at school. I'd have my eye on this girl, wanting to dance with her, and I'd go over and ask if she wanted to dance. And matter of fact, this was actually even not only during the school dances, but this is actually in life, later in life, when I was just going out to the clubs and things of that nature. Have my eyes set on this particular woman, and I go over and ask her if she wanted to dance. And I remember, man, when I went to ask her if she wanted to dance, and she said no, or she was with someone. Man, that was a long walk back, boy. I'm trying to tell you, that was a long walk back to my post. That was the longest walk in history. That felt like I was walking a marathon when I was returning, I got rejected from asking this young lady if she wanted to dance, and she told me no. And she wasn't being mean, but just again, no was rejection, felt like rejection. And that was the longest walk in history for me back to my post. So that was, I laugh about it now, but I trying to tell you, man, it was embarrassing to hear no. And I automatically, hey, Peter, thank you for joining, man. Thank you for joining. We're talking about nice guys. Do they finish last? And so please let us know your thoughts, Peter. Chime in if you are so inclined to, or if you're able to. Let us know your thoughts about nice guys. Do they finish last? But yeah, let's get further into this here. All right. So Lenora responds, I mean, Lenore responds, I mean, a person who isn't going to fold when things get tough or face when adversity. This could be life challenges or relationship challenges. Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, definitely. So Lenore was just kind of giving some more insight on her thoughts that she shared in regards uh, to me, strong means, she says earlier, to me, strong bears up under the weight of a challenge. And so she was just kind of giving some more thought, some more context to that. Uh, Marcia here on LinkedIn says, nice guys may be approachable, respectful, strong guy that is not afraid to show his sensitive side. Hmm. So is that the same guy, Marcia? A nice guy who is approachable, but at the same time he's showing his strong side. So is that the same guy? Is that the same guy? That's my question, Marcia. So give me some more input on that one here. So all right, cool. So yeah, it could be the same guy. So interesting enough. So are we expecting the nice guys to be sensitive too, or the nice guys overly sensitive? So the nice guy is approachable. The nice guy, is he also sensitive too, or is the nice guy nice, but not too sensitive. And just from my own knowledge and just experience, ideally the nice guy is, can be approachable. And sometimes women see the nice guy and they're like, mm-mm, he is too nice. He seems too nice. And do women like nice guys? How about that? Then maybe that's the question. Do women like nice guys? I know I asked a similar question, but can they deal with nice guys, or are the nice guys too sensitive? Are the nice guys too sensitive? Or the nice guys doormats? Or do you feel like you have to tell the nice guys what to do because they're not strong enough, or they don't show that enough to say, hey, you know what, or that assertiveness. They don't have enough assertion, or they're not as assertive, the nice guys. So there's a few questions out there, ladies, gentlemen. What are your take on it? Yes. So Marcia says yes. So that's the same guy. So Marcia says yes, that the nice guy is approachable and he has to be strong, showing a sensitive side. Hmm. Interesting. He has to be strong enough to show a sensible side. So I'm taking, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe vulnerable. Being able to be vulnerable so he can show a sensitive side. I think a lot of times with guys who are super nice, you get a lot of that sensitivity. You get a lot of that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I think I'm gonna be honest with you. I think there's a part of men where that you don't completely undress, and I'm saying that way. You don't completely, I mean, to a degree, to have conversations, to talk and just share, get things off your chest and things of that nature. But I think that when men just bear all from a perspective of women, it and I think, yeah, from a perspective of women, it is still looked as a negative thing, and it is unfortunate, but I think that it's just that's just my take on it. Yeah, Kenneth is still talking about that Kool Aid, that scrumptiously delicious Kool Aid over on LinkedIn. But yeah, my take on that is that I think that men can be vulnerable. You can be a nice guy, but you absolutely need boundaries. And without the boundaries, we as men, we're trampled over. We can feel trampled over, and I think naturally, after a man feels like he's been trampled over, we can come back. We can come back with some level of vengeance and being mean to women. And here's another take on it too. Here's another take on it as well. A lot of times when men who are raised by single mothers, and again, this is not a dig on single women, mothers who are raising children by themselves. Yeah, thank you for your comment. I'll get to your comment in 1 second, Peter. Let me finish this thought here. So I think a lot of times when mothers are raising single boys, again, not a dig on single boys. As I stated earlier, when you are a single mother, you have what you have, and you have to do what you have to do. I completely get that. I completely understand that. But it does not take away the feminine traits that the son can absolutely pick up from the mother. It doesn't not take away from a level of sensitivity that the mother displays through emotions, or that women display through emotions a lot of times, that the men, he in turn picks up as well. And so because he is obviously, as a man, he's still logical. Obviously that side portion, or that side of him, never goes away, but he may not quite know how to deal with that logical perspective. So he comes out from a space of more emotional, a lot of ways, a lot of times. And so, in dealing with women outside of his mother, and as that young man grows up and he starts dating, naturally he can come from that perspective, being overly sensitive about certain things. and not knowing how to be assertive or not knowing how to make a decision on certain things. Because oftentimes, again, it's not a dig on women, but a lot of times, the the logical brain can make decisions a little faster because they put things together differently. And then from a woman's perspective, when especially if she's got her emotions or caught up in her emotions, it can be difficult. It doesn't mean that women can't make decisions. Let me just clarify that. All right. I'm just saying that the differences in our thought processes, if you will. And so Peter says over here, nice guys don't finish last. Sounded like you need an exclamation mark on that one, Peter. He says, people like nice guys. Nice guys create meaningful, lasting relationships. Nice guys help the world not to be total chaos. I agree with you, Peter. I agree with you, Peter. I agree with you, Peter. So let me ask you a question, Peter. Uh, do you consider yourself a nice guy? And the other men out here who are on LinkedIn and other platforms, do you consider yourself nice guys? Hmm. All right, Lenora has chimed in again. So Lenora says, I don't think the problem is always what a man is that a man is a nice guy, but that they don't walk in wisdom. The right thing, the right thing done at the wrong time and for the wrong person is detrimental. Man, that is a mic drop right there. That is a mic drop right there. Uh, Chime in on that comment now, guys. If you read that comment over on LinkedIn, you're on LinkedIn here. You read the comment that Lenora just left. Chime in on that. So Peter says he is a nice guy, and Peter, I'm sure you probably have some stories of some relationships that didn't quite go well, or they said did, or have you had any relation? And this is not just for Peter. I want to single Peter out. So for the men over on LinkedIn, have you had any relationships in the past where the woman said that you are too nice? Have you had any relationships where you have had a woman say to you that you're too nice? I have in the past. This is years ago. I have in the past, more than one, and it was disasters. It was a letdown for me. Absolutely, it was a letdown for me because I was just like, "What's wrong with me?" Everybody wants a nice guy, and the reality was that everybody doesn't want a nice guy. And I'm talking about dating. I'm talking about dating, and I think that even in this nice guy, how effective is this nice guy in the workplace? Do the same rules apply to this nice guy in the workplace? Does he feel like a doormat even in the workplace? Another question for you: why does society punish the nice guy? Why does society punish the nice guy? Society punishes a nice guy. Society has a love-hate relationship with the nice guy. That's what I think. I think society in general has a love-hate relationship with the nice guy. And even a lot of movies, let's put it this way, a lot of movies will show that the nice guy, that his woman is being snatched from him or something like that, and or his face being, just pushed down in the mud or something like that. And different movies. This was in the past. This was a theme in some of the movies in Hollywood, and I'm sure there's probably too many to number right now, but this was an ongoing theme for many years ago in the different movies where the nice guy he got his lunch taken away from him, or something like that. He got beat up or something like that. Or the next thing you know, he shows up. He's been working out and now he comes back real buff and he's got muscles everywhere and he's winning all these different maybe awards now and he's winning a lady or something like that. So society has a love-hate relationship with the nice guy. With the nice guy. We talked about I mentioned the word reframing. as opposed to the word assertive, or excuse me, as opposed to the word aggressive or strong? And is the word assertive actually reframing reframing the conversation, so to speak, so that we can do the things. Kenneth says Daniel is a nice guy. Now, when I say this, there's nothing wrong with nice guys. Don't get me wrong. There is nothing wrong with being a nice guy. But as we are been here, again, LinkedIn is like super active over here on LinkedIn. You can read in the comments that the women are saying that they want the nice guys, but they also want a man who's able to not fold under pressure. They also want a man with a little with a little edge to him. Well, I said that. I said that, but nevertheless, but they want him to be strong where he can be vulnerable, because there is being vulnerable is not weak, guys. Being vulnerable takes strength, especially from us as men, because most of us have not learned how to be vulnerable, and so we use more energy in going the opposite way. And I think that energy that we apply to our relationships, again, going that opposite direction rather than succumbing to the, oh, all right. Thank you, Kenneth. Kenneth says over here on LinkedIn, Curtis Brooks is a nice guy. Yes, I do believe I'm a nice guy. Absolutely. But there are times when I'm probably not so nice. And my wife could probably confirm that. Yeah, there's times where I'm not so nice. Uh, but not nice in a sense, not in a sense where I'm just being mean deliberately, and sometimes, relationships, obviously, there's going to be, there are going to be differences, obviously, and it's all about how we address those differences, and keeping, keeping a level of respect, for each other. Absolutely. And Peter says over here on LinkedIn, and people wonder why there's all these bad things in the world when they ridicule nice guys. Yeah, man, absolutely, Peter, absolutely. Well, I think, Peter, that the world has, or a lot of people have just been, a lot of people have just gone through different things, man. A lot of people have gone through a lot of different things in life, man, and a lot of people have not set with the things that they've gone through in life, and healed from those things. And I think this is consequently this is why a lot of people choose the same kind of person over and over in relationships. So I do agree with you. The nice guy is absolutely ridiculed. The nice guy gets, it sometimes gets the short end of the stick. But as I been sharing with you, Peter, I do believe that the nice guy has to learn how to set boundaries, man. And setting boundaries is not a bad thing, man. There's nothing wrong with setting boundaries. Setting boundaries are absolutely essential to progress. It's just essential to progress, making progress in life. No, it doesn't mean it should be passed. They should pass it down. But here is what happens a lot of times, Peter. You're absolutely right. It does not mean that it should be passed down, but a lot of times, man, because people. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. 100%, man. So, not Peter says over here on LinkedIn, don't fight fire with fire. Now, Peter, you're making all kinds of sense, man. You are making all kinds of sense. It's just logical. It does make sense. But here's what I believe a lot of people are going through. A lot of people have not healed, Peter. A lot of people have gone through different traumas and challenges in different relationships, or even maybe going through different challenges in relationships right now. And then, as a result, man, when these people, women are breaking up and the men are ending relationships for various different reasons, when they're ending these different relationships, there's going to be residue, man. You can't be. You're not going to be in a relationship for 2 years, 5 years, or 7 years, or any length, any amount of time that you're not going to have any residue on you. it's going to be nearly impossible, man, that we're going to be picking up the things that we don't like, or pick up habits that we formed in those relationships again. And even for the habits we may have formed in those relationships, a lot of times those habits were already there. So I do agree with you, man, 100%. But the reality of it is that a lot of times, man, people in general, man, and they don't like to slow down to get the healing, man. They don't like to slow down and face those things that they've been dealing with. Face those unsavory things. A word out of Kenneth's dictionary. They don't like to face those unsavory things that they've dealt with in life. And a lot of people have dealt with uh, a lot of unsavory situations, and or placed themselves in a lot of just difficult situations, or dealing with the same kind of person over and over, man. And it is unfortunate. So I do agree with you. I'm on your side, man. I agree with you. But that is the world that we live in, man. That is the world that we live in. And I think that a lot of men are in this space. There are a lot of great men out there. There are a lot of great men out there, a lot of nice guys out there. But the reality of it is that when you're going to, if you're deciding to date, you're going to have to come with it, man. You're going to have to come with a different program, brother. That's just how it is, man. And again, it does not mean that we have to be mean as men, but you're just going to have you're going to have to put you're going to have to put your ears on. You have to do some active listening. And a way that we can do that active listening again is, even for us as nice guys, man, we need to heal, because somewhere in there, that nice guy has been rejected over and over and over. And I don't know the many times that I've been rejected. I don't know the many times that the nice guys have been rejected, whoever they are out here. But over a period of time, the nice guy has to deal with the rejection, deal with the hurt, and know that in most cases, it wasn't about you. In most cases, the rejection that you were dealing with, it wasn't about you. And let's just say that rejection was about that woman's preferences. Those are her preferences, and it doesn't mean that you're a bad guy. We just have to accept that these are women's. Uh, that's just their perspective, and this is their preferences. And also, the preferences can come out of their pain, and they can continuously choose the same guy over and over, much like a man can continuously choose the same manner of woman over and over, because certain things have been birthed out of their pain. And so, because their mannerism and their taste for certain things now, because over a period of time we can develop a different taste. We can start off as a nice guy, but for the different things that we've gone through in life, we can develop a different palette for different things now. And uh, there's a song by the Eagles. Any of you know, familiar with the Eagles, called "Desperado"? That's one of my favorite songs, man. I used to jam that song when I was much younger, man. Just put that song on replay, man. Repeat, repeat, repeat. I just thought it was a powerful song, because I think it speaks to and again, it can speak to. He was talking about a woman, but it can speak to men as well, because they are the men who want the women who don't want them. There are the women who want the men who don't want them. And that's a factor in life. And I think, because we get rejected because a man gets rejected by the woman that he wants, and she doesn't want him, it doesn't mean that you're a bad guy. Sometimes, I mean, again, it's a matter of our own perceptions of how we perceive ourselves. There are people, and there are men, and there are women. People perceive themselves way up here, their head in the clouds. And if you're not up there with them, you best believe they're gonna be looking down at you with their nose, looking down on you, or make you feel some kind of way about how you're approaching them. But rest assured, when you're approaching men and women, we're approaching each other, be in a job, or even in our personal lives, when we're approaching each other, it's a matter of how you feel about yourself, what's going on in here, how you perceive yourself. And all too often, as I kind of was alluding to earlier, is that even for the nice guy who's been rejected, he also needs healing. There was a movie years ago, Batman, and I don't remember how old the movie is, but uh, it was about the Joker. It was obviously about Batman, but it was about the Joker as well. The Joker was he was an incel. And this is not the topic of discussion, but the point of it is that even before that man, the Joker, became an incel, he was rejected. So it's not just the person that you're going after for that nice guy who's desiring that woman, uh, and she rejects him, or he's got in his mind that, hey, women don't want the nice guys. I do believe they do want nice guys, but I think a lot of times the nice guy is the guy who is a little bit more edgy, or a lot more edgy. I think that a lot of times is a condition of what they've dealt with, or what naturally women go after. Mm, interesting. Okay, here on let's see here. Peter here says, give me a second, Michael. I'll get to your comment here. Over on LinkedIn, Peter says, agreed. I wish people would take a step back, own up to their wrongdoings, and be the better person and make a better future. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Uh, Peter, that's what us coaches do, myself included, and many other coaches out here. That's what we do, or at least that's what I don't know. I mean, everyone has a different coaching style, but I think you've been in my different lives. I talk about helping men remove that mask. And, yeah, that's what I think that's what it's all about. And that's the only way I believe that you can make, that we as men can make, or people who are the nice guys can make a better future, is that the nice guys do need healing, man. Absolutely. The nice guys need healing. The nice guys need to work through those things for why they believe they're being rejected. And you'd be surprised that it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. A lot of times, it's the woman's preference, and again, from her perspective, men and women alike, we sometimes we can think ourselves higher than we ought to think of ourselves. With our head in the cloud and our chest stuck out and things of that nature, and we can show up in life like that, and consequently, those are the people that we find ourselves creating circles around. And I think the nice guys recognize the nice guys, and the guys who are more edgy, or who, I'm using that word edgy as opposed to other words, but they know the other edgy guys. They just, it's like the edgy guy club, or the nice guy club, or something. I don't know, but anyways, back in the comments here, Michael says, over here on LinkedIn, he says, I just realized nice guys are the ones that a woman, lady, married or unmarried, don't have to worry about compromising their integrity. Let me read it again. I just realized, Michael says, I just realized nice guys are the ones that a woman, lady, married or unmarried, don't have to worry about compromising their integrity, or manipulating her to the point of taking advantage of her innocence. Hmm. That's interesting, Michael. That's very interesting, Michael. Hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting, Michael. I would probably have a different take on that, Michael. Honestly, I think that I think Marcia said it best earlier in a comment. I don't know if you had the opportunity to scroll to see her comment. She talked about a nice guy is approachable, uh, and then she also talked about the nice guy being strong enough to be vulnerable. And and I think, I mean, I can appreciate what you're saying, but I think I think this is an assumption, because when a man is not ready for a relationship, or and even for the men who are more edgy, so to speak. Uh, he has those type of men, again, who are more edgy. They have their idea of, just what this relationship is going to look like, and at times maybe more assertive than other guys. But I think in regards to your statement, that's a huge assumption, because uh, yeah, that's a huge assumption on in regards to what the woman thinks, because there, yeah, man, that's an interesting comment there. Very interesting comment. So let me, okay, okay. So let me read this comment again here. So Michael says, I just realized nice guys are the ones that a woman, lady, married or unmarried, don't have to worry about compromising their integrity or manipulating her to the point of taking advantage of her innocence. Okay, so then he later on says being vulnerable to the point of being transparent about feelings for the opposite sex. Hmm. Yeah, that's yeah, that's still kind of interesting, Michael. Very interesting. I think that I you know I think that when us men, sometimes, man, when we've been in a certain place for a long period of time, and I know you said that you had some previous relationships that didn't work out for you. I think that when we've been in, as men, when we've been in a certain place for a long time, man, we can assume a particular role in here, a particular mindset in here, and 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 assume that this is what a woman wants. Again, kind of like, why don't women like nice guys? What's wrong with a nice guy? We can assume that that's what a woman wants. But I think for us as men, we have to first come into who we are as men. And that's going to mean that there's going to be some, obviously, some good days and some bad days. But ideally, there's going to be some testing of the water, just some testing things that we have to go through, man. And it could mean failed relationships. It could mean, just something that you thought was going to work out, and it just didn't work out. But I, I mean, I think being vulnerable is absolutely important. You've seen my lives here many times, and being vulnerable is hugely important. But I think there's a situation or times where it just that I think even my wife said it earlier. There are things that you just ca- cannot be ready to divulge right away. Sometimes you have to just wait for the moment to share certain things, and just kind of learn about the person. And a lot of times women, yeah, women can make us as men feel at peace, at ease about our sharing, and what we share, and we can feel comfortable about sharing certain things. But ideally, man, I think a women still like that man who is has an edge to him, where he can be assertive, not aggressive, not strong and saying, hey, I'm the man, that kind of thing. Not like that, but finding a balance. I think that that is important to women, and this is what I've learned. I've come to learn that's important to women. They still like the guy who has an edge to him, a man that's going to tell them no, a man that's not going to always give them their way. Because rest assured, brother, women will test you in that way. They will test you in that way. And this is just life. This is nothing, not a dig against women. This is just life. Men will test women in that way, on how far they can go. And so, as men, when we don't have boundaries, again, these nice guys, nothing wrong with being nice. Nothing wrong with being nice at all. But when we don't have the boundaries, man, it can be very difficult to pull in the reins when you have to, because people in general, man, I mean, it's a people thing. Uh, Everyone we meet may not have done the work, and it doesn't mean that they're not good people. It's just that it just means that we have to be we have to be, as men, we have to be prepared to again establish certain boundaries, man. It's just essential to it's just essential to life, man. It's just establishing these boundaries, and we have to, as men, we might have to deal with our wives or our significant other being upset about a certain thing, and be okay. Hey, you know what? This is a decision that I'm making, and and it doesn't mean that her decision is not valid. It doesn't mean that. But sometimes, as a man, sometimes you just have to know that you know that you know that you know, and this is what we're doing, and that's just how it is, um, and not make apologies about it. You don't have to make apologies about it. And I know, friend, I shared earlier that me growing up, being a mama's boy at a time in my life, I was. And I don't even like to admit that, but I was, man. I was a mama's boy at one time in my life. And it wasn't until I shared on different live streams, it wasn't until that my ex-wife, my son's mother, had said to me, "What are you going to do? Call your mother?" That's what she said to me. And at the time, I did not think that was funny, but I laugh about it now. But uh it's funny now, but at the time when she said that, man, that thing cut me like a knife, man. It was just like she stuck something in me and was just going like this. It was painful to admit that, but basically what she was saying is that I need you, Curtis. I need you, Curtis. And me and my mother were just, I mean, the best of friends. A great mom. My mom's a great woman. And we were the best of friends, but at some point I had to come to a place where I had to sever the ties for a time. And I remember my mom was calling me and calling me. She was like, "Babe, honey, baby, I miss you. I miss you." This is what my mother would say on the voice message that she would leave me. And as much as I wanted to call, I didn't call because I had to grow up. I had to be the man of the household that I was currently in, or the relationship that I was in at that time. I needed to be available for that relationship. And it was not something that my mother could do for me. And quietly as it's kept, a lot of times there is friction between our mothers and our wives or our significant other. There may be friction with that because our mothers can see us as sons, like they're, this is my son, that's my son. And our wives or our significant others, well, he's dating me, not you. So again, it can be a hostile environment in that space. It really can, because as men, we don't want to. Hey, Henry, thank you for joining, man. Appreciate you, Henry. Thank you for joining. We're talking about nice guys. Do they finish last? Nice guys. Do they finish last? So, but yeah, so there can be a tug of war between the mother and the spouse, the mother and the significant other, whether you're married or been in a long term relationship. There can absolutely be a tug of war. And I'm saying it because I've been there. I know what it feels like. All right, Jason, thank you for joining us here over on LinkedIn. Uh, Over on Facebook, Lenora says, great discussion. Thank you, Lenora. Appreciate that. So Jason over on LinkedIn says, I was a nice goody two shoes in school, and graduated top of the elementary school and high school in 1996 and won 7 scholarships. And I finished first. I I finished first, retired with $1 million exit in 2022 at 45. Jason. Oh, okay. I'm familiar with you, Jason. I think you were on when we were doing the LinkedIn audio lives. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot. There is a lot to that, Jason. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for commenting as well. There's a lot to that, Jason, and it is important that, again, it is not to say that nice guys finish last, but I think that, and speaking and knowing a little bit about Jason, this guy is doing some great stuff, and I've spoken with him, not personally, but I've heard him on different live streams before, over here on LinkedIn Audio when LinkedIn Audio was a thing, and so he's got some wonderful things going on, and so he's saying that he was known as a goody two shoes through school and graduated and at the top of his class or different things, and so here's the thing, even with that, sometimes. And I think a lot of times as men, we claim this for women, and that women will go after their careers, they will pursue their careers over having a relationship because the relationships are too hard, or perhaps maybe too hard. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but so my question to you, Jason, again, there's nothing wrong with being a nice guy, but sometimes relationships can be a distraction. And so my question to you, Jason, is that have you had relationships in the past where they perhaps didn't work out, or you've seen them as a distraction, and that it was like, well, this is too much, let me stick to what I know, what what isn't causing me too much problem or too much of an issue, and we can find ourselves again focus on our career, focus on our talent, because we're getting plenty of accolades from our jobs, our employees or employer. So, I mean, let me know. I hope that question makes sense, because sometimes we will do away with relationships for the sake of chasing our career, because relationships are work, man. Relationships take a lot of work, and as I said, as I stated earlier, even the nice guy needs healing. Even the nice guy needs healing, because the nice guy has been rejected enough times where. Okay, okay, cool. Yeah. So Jason's over here on LinkedIn says they didn't work because they were not a match for my purpose, and I'm still single waiting for marriage. Absolutely. Yeah. Nothing wrong with being single, nothing wrong with being single at all, and nothing wrong with waiting at all, as well. But if I can say this, and this is for men and women alike, I don't know if there's ever going to be a perfect person. I don't know if there's ever going to be a perfect person, and I could say that with strong. Mm, absolutely, Jason. Yeah, well said, brother. I can appreciate that. Jason says that he's running for prime minister next decade, so she has to be aligned with that purpose. Absolutely, man. Absolutely, absolutely. And even with that, that makes a whole lot of sense, man. So you want to definitely be selective in the woman that you are choosing to build a life with, man. Absolutely. Even with that, Jason, I would just just my thoughts, my take on that. Even with that, Jason, sometimes we can still be dealing with people in general. We can still be dealing with people who wear the mask very well. And if you're, just this life, man, people are dealing with all kinds of different things. And I'm not saying that every person on earth is a broken person, or are going through things, but rest assured that many of the people in life here, uh, if they're not, uh, if they have not gone through something, they're either headed into something, and these issues and challenges that come up in life. I believe they come up in life for the perfection of who we are as people, and I think the body in itself. I've spoken this in the past. The body itself wants to naturally heal itself. It does it automatically if we give it room to heal, but many times we push down the urges, we push down and just don't want to deal with the process, don't want to deal with the thoughts that come up with the pain, and the thoughts and different things, they come up for a reason. And uh even in life, God will place people in our lives and through relationships that will press those buttons, feel like they're pressing those buttons, man. And that these people will also provoke us to hey, get ourselves together. And it doesn't mean that they are bad people, but life, again, God will place people in our lives for reasons. And again, if even if the relationship is just 2 months, 3 months, or it's not a very long relationship, he'll place these people in our lives for reasons. And again, even to provoke us to look at ourselves, because oftentimes when we're looking in a mirror, we have our perspective. We have our perspective on how we see ourselves and what we think about ourselves. And and we obviously don't have the other person's perspective. So it is important to get the other person's perspective. And the other person's perspective a lot of times may not be the thing that you think that you see. And I think that can be the challenging part. That can be the hurtful part, is that, well, wait a minute. I perceive myself to be XYZ. I perceive myself to be a super nice guy. And come to find out, you may not be that nice of a guy, especially because relationships have a tendency to put pressure on us, good, bad, or indifferent. Relationships have a tendency to add pressure to who we are, and we don't always know what's going to come out, especially if we have not dealt with those challenges that we've been dealing with, or those challenges that have come across in different interactions with people. So those challenges absolutely. So Jason over here, on LinkedIn has been engaging. So thank you for the engagement, Jason. Peter says, no such thing as perfect. Absolutely. Feel free to get as close as you can. Absolutely. No such thing as perfection. And I would even add to that, Peter, is that a lot of times we say that there's no such thing as a perfect person, but do we really? Interesting. Okay, Marcia, where did she go? Marcia over on YouTube now says, the nice guys, are the nice guys wearing masks? Are the nice guys wearing masks too? In a lot of cases, they are. And again, we have to understand, and I please understand that, as Peter said, and as I've shared, there is no perfect person. And we are all coming out from under certain conditions and situations, every last one of us. There's no perfect person. There's no perfect situation. There's no perfect family. There's not a perfect world. So we all have come out from under uh, just just ridiculous situations, just ridiculous stuff that we've dealt with in life. And this is not to say whose situation is better or less off or better off. That's not it's not that it's not a competition, but to understand that because there's all kinds of different things that we were dealing with. There's healing on all kinds of different levels that we need to work through. And so naturally, before the nice guy shows up he shows up a lot of times, and I think I said this earlier, the nice guy shows up a lot of times as being the nice guy. And this was for me, the nice guy was showing up is that with an approach where it's like, with an approach that says, well, maybe, hopefully, maybe, might, and again, still apprehensive, but almost squeamish because that's that may be the mindset, or at least that was my mindset. Almost kind of squeamish, like if I'm nice, if I approach this nice, she'll say yes. And I found out that wasn't the right approach either. So it is important to know that that perfection that we're looking for, it does not exist. And as Marcia said here over on LinkedIn, excuse me, on YouTube, she says, uh, maybe the nice guys are wearing masks too. And I think in most cases, the nice guys, the mean guys, the guys who are jerks, the guys who are the edgy guys, most of us are wearing masks. And it does take a process to come out from under the rubble and to take those many masks off. That many of us have been wearing throughout the course of life, man. It absolutely, because many of us have dealt with some different things here. So Jason here over on LinkedIn says, my next ex was right, and that my woman has to want to be the first lady. Absolutely. Now that is a major piece, Jason. That is a major piece because you choose her, man, does not mean that she wants to be the first lady, or it doesn't mean that she wants to take that role, man, because that is a major responsibility, man. Because if you're gonna take that kind of a role, man, you need someone who can bear the weight, who can handle the weight that you're going to be placing on them, because rest assured you are going to be placing some kind of weight or expectation on your first lady. So you definitely need a woman who has the wherewithal to deal with the burden that you're going to be carrying, man, and who can be the sounding board as well. So that's very important. uh Jason goes and says most women are private and I'm doing songs and movies. So, okay, most women are private. Okay. So he goes and say, agree with that. Michael LeBlanc, thank you, sir, for joining. We've been talking about nice guys. Do they finish last? So Jason goes on to say, so I was determined to break that generational curse first before marriage. That's interesting, Jason. That's interesting, Jason, because I think sometimes, I get where you're coming from, man, but I think sometimes before you find out that it's there, before you even know that it's there, man, you're going to have to go through it before you even know that it's there, man. And I don't think there's a safe place, because yeah, there's not a safe place, man. And unfortunately, not so much unfortunate, but you desiring to be prime minister, that's a wonderful, lofty goal. But there may be some things that, again, there will be some things that you'll be dealing with, but now on a public platform now. So it's best to try to get those things out the way now, sir, before you get there. That's just my take on it. It's just best to, because they're going to come up, man, and you want to know what those things look like, because not even the first lady's going to be perfect, brother. You want to know what those things look like before you get there, man. So Michael here over here on LinkedIn says, thank you for joining, Michael. So Michael over here on LinkedIn says, living in the present with attention and intention. Yeah, being self-aware, being loved, and loving, transcends nice. Become a human being, and not a human doing. So yeah, absolutely, Michael. Michael says, being self-aware, just having the right motivation. So being present with attention and intention. So letting your attention be known, and that there's an intention for why you're doing X, Y, Z. He says being self-aware, living loved, being loved, and loving. And he says this transcends being nice. Absolutely, Michael. I agree. And Michael, this is really kind of why we're having this conversation, Michael, because all of that sounds nice, Michael, but it can take a lifetime getting to that place, Michael. So I do, and I love what he says over here on LinkedIn. He continues to say, "Seek first to understand, and to be understood, then to be understood." So, yeah, absolutely, Michael. Yeah, it is our job, in a little bit about just communication. When a person communicates, it is his or her job to communicate in a way where he or she is understood. So it becomes my goal or my intention to make sure that when I'm communicating that I'm understood. All right. So first and foremost, as a communicator, and communicator is a sender and is a receiver. The sender is the person who's communicating. So it becomes his goal, his job to make sure that he is understood, and uh, that he's understood, and that he can understand the other person. And so here's the interesting thing, Michael. Uh, Michael LeBlanc. Here's the interesting thing, because I love what you said, that to seek first to understand, and then to be understood. That right there is very challenging a lot of times for people, Michael. Not to say it's impossible. It's not to say it's impossible, but it's a challenge for people, man. It's because they have their values, they have their ways, and and I think this is what causes the friction a lot of times in relationships. This is what causes the friction. And this is why a lot of times I believe the guy who has the man who has the intention and giving the attention to be understood, or given the attention to understand the other person, I think he can have the best of intentions, but when the person that you're dealing with comes with yet a different from a different angle, it can be challenging to they may not, I'll put it this way, they may not understand us. And I know for me, being a nice guy, a lot of times the frustration comes in not being understood. Well, that's not what I meant. I said it this way, and this is, and I can find myself explaining certain things and trying to get clarity out of certain things, or making myself more clear. But sometimes the other person just doesn't understand, and we have to be okay with that. But nevertheless, it can cause some kind of internal turmoil with us, especially with a nice guy, because we know what we meant. We knew it was not meant to hurt someone, or said in a way to hurt them. We know that years ago, yeah, it's been some years ago. Me and my wife we were dating at the time, and I said something to her that for her it was a trigger for her, and I didn't know it was a trigger for her, and so I found myself getting upset because I didn't know. But she kindly said to me, she says, "Well, just because you didn't know didn't mean that it didn't hurt," and that caused a whole lot of confusion because it was not my intentions, but I felt bad because she was hurting, but it still hurt. So, sometimes it's just, it's just like that. This is what we're dealing with. Again, even to be understood can be even to be understood can be very challenging. It can be, just again, create an inner turmoil in us because we can mean one thing and it can come out a certain way, or the other person may not understand us because they're dealing with their own stuff and they're looking through the perspective or the lens of the stuff on how they've dealt with stuff, or maybe currently looking at things. And again, that's their perspective. All right. So we got some more comments over here on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is jumping. It's hopping over here in LinkedIn. I appreciate you guys. This absolutely makes the conversations definitely more engaging. So I appreciate you over here on LinkedIn, also on YouTube. Thank you, and Facebook as well. Thank you. So Peter says, I have worn the mask plenty of times when I would have to hold back from smashing someone. From facts, man. I know the feeling, man. Smashing someone's head, and who's wrongs others and believe they can get away with it. Unfortunately, he says, unfortunately, the law protects people from any immediate repercussions, but I believe in karma, and that will suffice for me. Hmm. Yeah, another interesting take, Peter. Another interesting take. Got a lot of comments here, guys. Um, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing about the masks, Peter, is that the mask prevents us from being authentic. And I get it. I get it, man. I again, you've been on a few of my different lives, and I've shared with you my experience in wearing the mask, and it was difficult, man. It was difficult. I don't wear the mask anymore. I mean, again, I know how to reserve or just kind of hold back without saying certain things, and it's not always easy sometimes, because when you take that mask off or decide not to wear that mask, you see things from a completely different perspective now, versus allowing that anger to brew up in you. And I think a lot of times with the mask, there are those unspoken boundaries that people have crossed, and then a lot of times those people don't know that they've crossed a boundary, and because they don't know that, we sit there again, dealing with an inner turmoil that's taken place, a buildup of stuff, and yet the other person is going on with life and not knowing that they have actually touched one of our landmines. And again, I think ultimately, excuse me, take a drink of water here. 1 second. Excuse me. Ultimately, the wearing a mask, it prevents us from being authentic. It prevents us from coming into that space of dealing with things in an integral manner, if you will. First and foremost, being honest with ourselves, and that's, I think we owe that honesty first and foremost to ourselves. That honesty needs to be within us. And I think the mask as a whole, when it's with the mask, it's not something that you can take on, and we do at times, but ultimately the goal is to keep the mask off, because again, we can just prevent us from being authentic, our authentic selves. And then so when we are showing up with the mask on in a relationship, rest assured the person that we're dating, or maybe may have taken interest in, they're showing up with their mask on as well, or they're showing up as a representative of someone else. So it can be something that again, a balancing act of some sort, wearing a mask. All right, so we've got Aaron. Hey, Aaron, thanks for joining, man. Thanks for joining, Aaron. All right, so we've got wow. Okay, we got 8:30. Been on for about an hour and a half, guys. So I'm gonna be wrapping it up here soon. We do a few more of the comments. Let's see here. Jason says that he does not believe in wearing masks. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Mask can be absolutely detrimental to life in itself. The mask, they can be detrimental. It's something that we have all learned how to do, unfortunately, but they can definitely be detrimental to life in itself, to building relationships, for sure. Michael says we need to rise to the challenge of both understanding and being understood if we want to understand. Listening is the first necessary action. We can only influence when we listen to understand, then address that understanding. Absolutely, Michael, absolutely. But yeah, man, I think too that there are challenges even with that. And again, there are definitely solutions for sure. Michael, definitely solutions. This is Michael LeBlanc I'm speaking to. There are definitely solutions, and I like what you're saying for sure. I think that the challenge is for those people who are not wearing a mask. We have to be patient for the. We have to learn how to be patient with the people who are wearing a mask. And sometimes it's not always easy being patient with the people who are wearing a mask when you're not wearing a mask anymore, and you're dealing with people in life, who are still wearing a mask. And um, and and a lot of times they don't know how to identify with people who are not wearing a mask, such as myself, yourself, and other people who have decided to retire the mask. So Jason says over here in LinkedIn, putting my best foot forward is wearing a mask. Interesting. He says instead put my best foot forward because I can't walk on one foot. Hmm. Okay, maybe I missed something in that one there. Okay, Jason said you had. That's why I started off saying I had four nervous breakdowns. Wow. This guy Jason is he's smart as a whip. This brother's pretty sharp here. So I've again not spoken to him personally. Very sharp brother here, and so do, 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 do. So Michael LeBlanc here says don't live in a room. Don't live in the room of good intentions where we wear masks. Live in the room of grace, having the elasticity to understand and love the other. Absolutely, Michael. Absolutely, absolutely. Well said, man. I like that. I like that. Yeah, it's important that we have to learn how to be flexible in life. We have to learn how to be flexible in life. But I think that again, that's another layer, Michael. I believe of understanding that because I think ideally that mask is pretty rigid, man. that mask is very rigid, and I think that's what comes out of people doing life from a rigid perspective when we are wearing that mask, and that's unfortunate. So Aaron says to Peter over here, it literally changed my life perceptions. I hope it means to have of what it means for my life. Okay, let's see. Kenneth says to Michael LeBlanc that he's so lyrical here over on the LinkedIn side. Uh, let's see here. Michael Rivers says, I was naive at one point and thought I was being a nice guy, but realized that my ignorance and me believing that I was interacting with other nice guys who thought like I did, but to my hurt, I led to my hurt, it led the wolves into my yard who took advantage of my ex-fiance behind my back. Yeah, man, that's a good conversation right there, Michael. That's a good conversation, brother, because I think, yeah, man, yeah, y- yeah. Part of being a man, brother, you've got to we got to keep those eyes open, man. Again, even being a nice guy is being great too, man. But we can't. Sometimes when you're dealing with life, man, you can't even blink. You can't get a good blink in there, man. And some other some other joker is trying to you know, talk to your fiance or say some things, whatever. But nevertheless, man. But yeah, that's man. Being a man, it comes with protecting your domain, brother. Protecting your domain and even having those conversations with your spouse and about again setting those boundaries. We don't have certain conversations such as this. We we are mindful of what we're saying and being mindful of each other. And so it's important for us to make sure we're drawing those boundaries as well as men, because you definitely have to protect your domain. So let's see here. We're gonna get down to reading the remainder of Jason's comments here, and we're gonna wrap it up here. My wife is actually sending me messages, notifications saying wrap it up, man. But anyways, Jason says here over on LinkedIn, he says, if you put your worst foot forward, you are accepted. Then you appear to get better and better and better. Interesting. Yeah, that's a yeah, that's again an interesting take, Jason, for sure. I think it's more kind of just like does the nice guy in fact finish last? You're saying it in a different way, and I think that I think people will settle for something short of something that's done the right way, so to speak, and they'll take something half done versus something done the right way. I think we might be just saying it again in a different way, basically. So Jason says if you put on Jason goes on to say that's why relationships start out great and then get worse and worse and break down and and you end up broken up, I guess. Uh, yeah, absolutely. And again, setting those boundaries, Jason, setting those boundaries. Relationships are not easy, man. They're not easy, man, because we're looking at people coming from different backgrounds. We ourselves different perspectives, and it's not always easy, man. Michael Rivers says you said a mouthful. In regards to what I was sharing earlier, Kenneth says always keep the eyes behind your head open. Absolutely, Kenneth. Absolutely, man. We as men, we got to have eyes behind our head as well, man, for sure. Because rest assured, man, if there was a woman that was talking to you, I'm sure your girlfriend or your ex fiance, she would have recognized that thing, man. She's like, "Who is that? What did she say to you?" So Okay, Michael LeBlanc here. We got to wrap it up here. I got to wrap it up here, guys. Michael LeBlanc says, "There's always challenges, my brother. Ultimately, the mask does not serve us. Yes, we need to make room for those unable to remove the mask, but we also need to draw the appropriate boundaries. Absolutely, man. Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Mask or no mask, yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah, definitely. Well said there, Michael LeBlanc." Jason goes on to say the solution is not to be fake and hide your true weakness. Wearing a mask or with dating by faking or sending representatives of your true self. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree with you, Jason. I completely agree with you, man. But sometimes people have to be, you have to be ushered into that space. You have to be coached into that space, really. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a coach, but you you have to have someone lead you into that space, man, because sometimes we don't know this stuff is there, man. Sometimes we don't know this stuff is there, man. And a lot of times Peter says happy wife happy life. I don't think so, Peter. I know this is a saying that we hear all the time, but I don't necessarily agree with that one, Peter. Happy wife happy life. No. I think that sometimes what certain things, what we might say as, or as a woman might say is happy to her, we have to sometimes look at certain things from a different angle, man. Because there, and just a real quick story here, there's been times where I wanted to heart a post or give a thumbs up to a post that sounded right. And just looking and reading it at first, I said, "Oh, that sounds great." But I had to pause at first. I had to pause because when I paused, I said, "Wait a minute. Oh, that's not saying the same thing that I'm not in agreement with what that post was reading." And I think sometimes we have to look at our spouses or that significant other in dating the same way. We have to be prepared to listen, because just because it sounds good doesn't necessarily mean that and she's happy with it doesn't mean that's the thing that we need to be doing. And we just need to just, kind of be prepared to look at it from different angles. Yeah, Michael Rivers. Yeah, the wife is calling, man. I'm getting those notifications. So, uh, Kenneth says, "Curtis, you're so hilarious." And yeah, that's too funny. So Michael says here, winding it down, guys, here because the wife is calling. She says, Michael says here, if you if I would have known of you and Kenneth when I was married, I would have definitely still be with her to this day. This is the circle This is a circle that she always said I needed to be in. I had absolutely no social life outside of her. Wow, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. You need to reach out to me if you can, Michael. That you sounds like you need to talk, brother. That's very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Kenneth says your husband to Lenora. Your husband is such a comedian. Michael LeBlanc says, Curtis, great to meet you virtually. God bless you, brother. Same to you, man. And thank you very well, Michael. I appreciate that. Guys, this has absolutely been a great conversation. Thank you for your turnout. Marcia over there on LinkedIn, who switched to LinkedIn, and Lenora over on Facebook, and now over on LinkedIn here. So again, thank you. Thank you all for your comment, your engagement. It's absolutely been wonderful. It definitely makes the conversations go a lot faster. So we have been on here for almost an hour and a half now. So I want to put this out here. Let's see here. There's a link on your screen here that is bit.ly, free 30-minute coaching. So if you want to meet with myself, and have a conversation related to a strategy call that's going to that you're asking questions, Curtis, how can I get out of this situation? How can I change my situation? Please be sure to connect with me on the link that's there on the screen, bit.ly forward slash free 30-minute coaching. Let's schedule a call, and let's make some headway, and let's change your circumstances for you guys. So let's have that conversation. So Let's make that happen. And that being said, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to say again, thank you all for being a part of this great discussion, for making this a great discussion. Thank you all for your comments. Michael LeBlanc, my wife, of course, Kenneth, Kenny, Savor the Flavor, Michael Rivers, and Peter, thank you, and Jason Kente, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you for joining the conversation. A lot of input from you. Again, reach out to me, Jason, or Michael Rivers, if you're so inclined to. Man, let's have a conversation. And it is a free 30-minute conversation, and let's make some sense of what you're doing. And even Jason, as you're preparing for your first lady, let's have a discussion, man. And Aaron, thank you, sir, for being part of the conversation as well. And we got a few more people. Just want to wrap it up here. Make sure I mention everybody who's been a part of the conversation. And thank you all for who didn't show up on screen here, or who didn't comment, for who are just watching the conversation. And thank you all for watching the replay. So please watch the replay or share this conversation with someone else. We're going to say goodbye for now, guys. And we will talk with you soon. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.